Welcome back, neighbors. Today I will recap the Korean romance drama film called Portrait of a Beauty, a 7-year-old young girl gifted at painting. However, the pressure is on her brother to carry on the proud family tradition, as women aren't allowed to become professional painters. While her brother trains to take his place in the court, Jung helps him out by secretly painting for him. The little girl's life is turned upside down when her brother kills himself. In order to preserve the family honor, she is forced to take her brother's name and lives as a man. To know the full story, watch the whole video. The movie begins. We see a man named Shin Hong-pyong, who has called some guests to show off his son Shin Young-bok's painting. The guests are impressed by the paintings and request the son to paint in front of them, but the son is scared and hesitates to paint. His father is embarrassed and looks for him afterwards to scold him, but to his shock, Young-bok has hanged himself and committed suicide. Hun-kyung learns that the paintings were actually made by his daughter named Shin Young-jong, and blames her for the death of Young-bok. Hun-pyong is desperate to continue as his name, but since girls are not allowed to become royal painters, he forces his daughter to assume the identity of her brother and live the rest of her life as Young-bok. 10 years later, Young has become a student of Kim Hongdu and is being trained to become a royal painter, while walking in the town with her teacher. A local man named Kang Yu accidentally bumps into them and breaks an expensive royal mirror. Kang Yu is arrested in Hongdu, and Jong are also held responsible for the damage, and they are asked to make an excellent painting, which should be worth the price of the expensive mirror. Hongdu asks Jong to make the painting. The painting made by Jong is accepted and Kang Yu is set free. Kang Yu thanks Hongdu and Jong for helping him and gives them a puppies. Hongdu is not satisfied, and tells Kang Yu to show them some beautiful locations for painting. On the next day, Kang Yu takes Jong to a lake where some women are bathing. Jong is thrilled to watch them and draws of painting at them while naked. The women catch them, peeking. Jong and Kang Yu run away as fast as possible, and arrive at a bridge where Jong falls into the river. Kang Yu also jumps into the river and helps Jong get to the shore. Now that her clothes are soaked in water, her nipples are clearly visible. Out of curiosity, Kang Yu grabs them and gets slapped by Jong. Kang Yu realizes that Jong is a woman pretending to be a man. A few days later, Jong goes to a brothel where all her painter colleagues are watching prostitutes performing various sexual positions. While leaving, Jong gets attacked by some men who are jealous of Jong's achievements since Jong is physically weak. She has no choice but to obey them, but Kang Yu comes to her rescue and saves her. Kang Yu is attracted to Jong and is falling in love with her. The next day, Kang Yu takes part in a wrestling competition and wins a cow, which he gives to Jong. Jong sees the cow along with an apology for touching her and rushes to Kang Yu's house. Both of them have feelings for each other and cannot resist it anymore. Meanwhile, Hongdu sees the paintings of Jong and notices the growing interest of Jong in lust. The next day, Jong begins visiting the warehouse daily and have a lot of fun with Kang Yu. That their love for each other is getting stronger, and one day they make love at the warehouse. Jong is finally able to embrace her womanhood and be herself instead of pretending to be someone else. But unbeknownst to them, Hongdu is watching them from behind the window. After watching them mate all day, he has turned on despite vowing never to return to a brothel a long time ago. Hongdu goes to a prostitute and they also make love. The next day, the bully sexually assault Jong as he is having doubts about her sexuality. But Hongdu saves her and tells the bully to leave her. A few days later, the bully apologizes to Jong for bullying her and invites some prostitutes for fun. His main intention is to find the truth about Jong's sexuality. A prostitute named Solha takes Jong to a room. She knows about Jong's true identity, but chooses not to expose her. Meanwhile, Kang Yu goes to a shop to buy some clothes for Jong. Solha sees Kang Yu buying a dress, and invites him to replace. She gives him a beautiful dress as a gift. The dress was given to her by Hongdu, who promised to marry her a long time ago, but he never came back for her. Later night, Hongdu tells Jong not to get diverted by the outside influence and shift all her focus to her upcoming test. He knows about Jong's affair, but doesn't say anything. The next day, Jong goes to the warehouse where Kang Moo gifts through the dress. Jong wears the dress and goes out with Kang Yu. Meanwhile, a woman goes to a temple to pray and faint. The monk takes her to his room. It turns out that the woman was just pretending. Jong and Kang Yu arrived at the temple to pray. The royal guards arrive at the temple to arrest everyone, including the monks and women. Jong and Kang Yu tried to escape, but they are caught by the royal guards. Kang Yu tries to fight them off, but is outnumbered. He sacrifices himself so that Yun Jong can escape and gets arrested. Yun Jong gets home and sees that Hongdu is waiting for her. He is surprised to see her wearing the dress that he gave to Solha. Hongdu expresses his love for Yunjong and forcefully sex with her. But he stops when he realizes his mistake. Everyone belonging to royal families is allowed to leave except for Kong Yu, who is informed by the guards that he is going to be executed for committing adultery at the temple. The next day, the test for the royal court painters begin. But Yunjong is absent. Later Yunjong begs Hongdu to save Kong Yu from execution. Seeing her in pain, Hongdu meets the king and asks him to spare Kangyu. The king accepts his request and decides to banish Kangyu from the Isle of Koch. Yunjong returns to her father, who tells Yunjong to become a great painter greater than Hongdu. Yunjong burns all the memories of her and Kangyu and decides to move on. She thanked Hongdu by offering her body. Hongdu loses his control and sex with her. Yunjong chooses to continue her life as her brother. After walking for some distance, Kong Yu faints. Solha followed him and brought him back to her house. Yunjong rushes to see him and is happy to see Kong Yu alive. Solha reveals to the bully that Yunjong is a woman. Later Solha tells Hongdu that Yunjong and Kangyu were planning to run away the next morning. Solha wants Hongdu to be alone forever because he never fulfilled his promise of marrying her. Hongdu returns home and finds Yunjong waiting for him. She wants to give Hongdu a painting to thank him for everything. While painting, Hongdu gets flashbacks of all the happy memories he has with Yunjong for the first time in his life. He feels love for someone and begs Yunjong not to leave him. But Yunjong has made up her mind. Hongdu doesn't want to lose Yunjong, so he confronts Kangyu and shoots him with a poisonous arrow. Hongdu tells Kangyu that he has the antidote for the poison. But Kangyu isn't willing to give up on his love and fights with both men are unwilling to give up on their love and will do anything for Yunjong. Because of their struggle, the antidote falls into the river. Hongdu jumps into the water to find the antidote. Yunjong arrives there and sees Kangyu taking his final breath. By the time Hongdu returned with the antidote, Kong Yu, who has died on Yunjong's legs. Yunjong, her father, and Hongdu were arrested by the royal guards for deceiving the king and having a woman become a royal painter. Hun Kyung accepts his mistake for forcing his daughter to hide her nature and begs the king to spare Yunjong. The king commands his soldiers to torture Hongdu and Yunjong until they reveal the truth. When the king interrogates Yunjong, she tells him that Hongdu learned about her identity last night, and he is innocent despite the death of Kangyu. Yunjong protects her master till the end. On the other hand, Hongdu draws a painting of the day. He learned about Yunjong identity, which changed everything for him. He cries, saying that he couldn't protect Yunjong's innocence and who has lost after listening to both of them. The king decides to spare Hongdu and banishes him from the kingdom. Yunjong is also banished from the kingdom separately and draws a painting of herself when she wore the dress gifted by Kangyu. Because of jealousy and lust, a beautiful relationship between a teacher and student, and the movie ends here. Adios.